All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put out there. At this moment, I will be bringing you my guests for tonight. Before I get there, though, let me lay a little foundation here. About a week ago, we all learned of Tapang Ivo, one of the activists for Amazonian independence struggle, filing a lawsuit in the local court in the state of California against Emmanuel Nsahlai's law firm, claiming defamation against his person. And here with me tonight to discuss what that lawsuit is all about is Tapang Ivo's attorney, Barrister Curtis Edmondson. Barrister Curtis, it's a great pleasure to have you here on the show, sir.
Good evening, Chris. Nice to speak with you.
Thank you. Let's delve into this. You have been handling some of these cases for quite a while now, because we know for sure this is not the first time that you will be handling a case on behalf of Tapang Ivo against Emmanuel Nsahlai. The first one, I think, was about a year or two ago, where you actually won the cases. I think there were two of them. You actually won them. But this time, Tapang Ivo is the one suing Nsahlai Emmanuel. I would like you to go back to the first two cases that you handled for Tapang Ivo. You won both of those cases, and now Tapang is going after Nsahlai. What is Tapang telling you? What is the reason that he is suing Nsahlai Emmanuel?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So I've actually been working with Ivo since 2018. It's hard to imagine that 6 years has already passed. In 2018, Ivo was sued by a number of unspecified people from the Cameroons, accusing him of terrorist activities, and that was in federal court up near San Francisco. And we were successful in that case in getting all claims dismissed and getting sanctions awarded against his attorney, Emmanuel Nsahlai. And then that was followed by a second lawsuit, and this was during COVID, in Los Angeles Superior Court. So just for some background, we have two different court systems in the United States. We have federal courts and we have state courts. So this one was in California State Court. It involved an individual named Padi Asanga, who had allegedly was threatened by Mr. Tapang, even though Mr. Tapang wasn't even in the area. Mr. Nsahlai represented Mr. Asanga, and we were successful at that case in trial. Shortly thereafter, in federal court in Los Angeles, another lawsuit was filed, essentially claiming the same thing, that Ivo Tapang was a terrorist, and he was sued by a nonprofit of sorts. And we were successful in getting that case dismissed, and once again, sanctions were issued against Mr. Nsahlai. Recently, it came to our attention that Emmanuel has published a letter, and this was just within, I think it was January of 25,
right,
claiming that Mr. Ivo Tapang was a terrorist again, even though we've had two earlier court cases over the last 6 years saying he's not a terrorist. So, as in Mr. Tapang's right, he brought a claim for defamation under California law, which basically says that Emmanuel's claims that he is a terrorist is defamatory, and seeking damages as a result of that statement. So we're at the initial stages of this case, and I expect that it will be litigated. Well, it's March now. I'll probably be in front of a judge to preliminarily discuss the case, I think sometime in June or July of 2025. And that would be almost 7 years dealing with this issue. So even though we have two prior decisions that Ivo Tupong is not a terrorist, Mr. Nsahlai seems to think otherwise. And so that's why we're asking the court to make a decision on this issue.
Now, what do you make of the fact that this Nsahlai, of course, the statements that he sent out in January, which Tapang Ivo is referring to, in that statement, there were quite a handful of Amazonians listed as terrorists, myself being one of them. When you look at such a statement, now those statements are sent to the State Department, they are sent to the FBI, they are sent to the Department of Homeland Security, and in some cases, he sends them to our local senators and congressmen or women. When you read that as a lawyer, without any substantiation, what do you make of it?
Well, that's interesting. It's really not up for me to decide. In the U.S. system, we have the jury system, and it might be the same also in the Cameroons, where those facts are submitted to the jury, and the jury makes that determination on whether it's defamatory or not. So my job here is to present the evidence the best way I can and have the jury make that decision. So, and that's the process we go through, and we defer to the rulings of the courts, the decisions of the jury. It takes a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, we get a determination of that, and we go along with that determination.
In your first case, representing Ivo against Nsahlai, which you won, Tapang turned around and sued him for charges, court charges. Where did Emmanuel pay those charges?
On the first case, I believe he did.
He did pay the charges?
I believe on the first case he did. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Tapang is asking for $100,000 in charges for the current lawsuit. Nsahlai, is he that rich to be able to afford $100,000 for a lawsuit?
Well, quite frankly, I don't know one way or the other. And the $100,000, it could be what the jury makes that determination. So it could be 100,000, it could be $1 million, it could be the number that the jury sees as fit. I think you're familiar with some of the recent cases in the United States involving news persons saying that there were shootings in Sandy Hook, and I believe that judgment that was entered was close to $100 million. So in the United States, we take claims of defamation quite seriously.
That is interesting. Again, as I just noted a few minutes ago, there are quite a handful of Amazonians who are in the list of Nsahlai Emmanuel in the January statement that is circulated. What do you think about, I don't know, there's a terminology they use, action, is it John Action lawsuit? What do you think about Amazonians coming together and saying, hey, Emmanuel, you have defamed all of us. We are all coming together to take you up on these your defamations. What do you think of a joint action lawsuit by all those mentioned in that list? And it will interest you to know that some of them are actually dead. Some of the people listed there are dead.
Well, I think what you're referring to is, we call it in the United States a class action lawsuit.
Class action, correct.
Right. And, you hear a lot about class action lawsuits. This is not necessarily a case that is necessarily good for class action, because each individual person, their damages are viewed differently to their reputation. So it's unlike most class actions are consumer class actions, where some party has maybe deducted $1 from your bank account and they've done it to 100,000 people and it's all the same damage. Here, each damage is very particular to the individual plaintiff. So I think it's highly unlikely a class action lawsuit would be allowed. But that doesn't prevent the individuals from hiring counsel and bringing their own actions against people who have defamed them. So. Chris, I'm sorry I lost your audio feed, so I didn't hear what you had said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think my microphone was muted. This is my question.
Yeah.
It is also known that it is known that Emmanuel Nsahlai is not is not a registered agent for Cameroon in the USA, but in his appearances over television stations and newspapers back in Cameroon, he has made it very clear he represents Cameroon in these cases in the United States. In fact, I think I have read stories where it is said that the government budget for him to pursue these cases, the Prime Minister of Cameroon only last week, I think that was March 18, at a conference said they have succeeded to prosecute separatists in the diaspora, and some of them are in jail. Of course, these are the efforts of Emmanuel Nsahlai. But in the United States, he is not known as a registered agent of Cameroon. Doesn't this go against the laws of the U.S.?
Well, Chris, so in the United States, many claims can only be prosecuted by the state. And so that type of claim is something that's reserved to either the U.S. Attorney's Office or the state prosecutors. I'm just a civil lawyer, so I can't comment one way or the other whether he has to be an agent or not. And then with regard to everything else, we have a formal process of discovery. So if he's made certain claims since this case has been followed, we'll ask him for that evidence that he's made those claims. And it's a fairly straightforward process. Like I said, it probably takes about a year or so, year and a half to get to trial. And then on a case like this, you might have a 2 or 3 day trial. Although I have been involved in defamation cases where the trials have gone on for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right. Has Emmanuel been served?
He has.
He has been served.
Yeah, I just got notice of service this morning.
Okay, so what is the next step now after he's been served?
He will have to answer the complaint.
Okay. And when would you expect the first court appearance?
We'll have the status conference, I believe, in June. That's my experience with the Central District of California. It's usually 2 months after service.
Is this a jury trial or a court trial? A judge trial?
Either side can elect jury in this case, or they can go to a bench. Typically, defamation cases are jury trial cases.
Okay. Now, this is filed in the federal court instead of a local court in California as per the former cases. What's the difference?
Not much difference. You can bring claims in federal court that are state causes of action like defamation, when the amount of money at controversy exceeds $75,000. So,
Okay. What would you say to, because again, you have been involved in this for a while now, probably going to four years, and this guy just keeps on doing this. The last time you defeated him in court, it was over him. The court realized he is in the habit of filing frivolous lawsuits. What would you say to those who have been victim of this guy in this form of filings? Because, I mean, there are many of us out here would have just not done it because we think we better spend our money is better spent somewhere than pursuing Emmanuel and Nsahlai in court. So what would you advise those who are without our circle but who fall victims to Emmanuel and Nsahlai in these lawsuits?
well, I would, as if with any claim, let's not talk specific to this case, but with any claim in the U.S., if you have a cause of action, ideally you talk to an attorney, or if it's a small amount, you can go to small claims court yourself. And the attorney will typically evaluate the strength of your cause of action, and then you can either bring a case against the defendant or not. So that's something that's provided for in the court system, and it works very well and works very efficiently in the United States. As they say in the U.S., the court systems provide resolution. They might not provide the result that you necessarily want. But it seems to have worked well for, I think, close now to 250 years.
Should he lose the case, is he in the position to appeal a jury trial?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's in a position to appeal the cases. And in this particular case, you would go to the Ninth Circuit, and they would look at it, and then theoretically you could go to the Supreme Court. But that's not, it doesn't happen that often, really.
So it's possible to say he can use the appeal process to prolong and prolong and prolong the case.
Well, worst, it's highly unlikely that the case would go more than, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Right.
With an appeal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, Curtis, it's great having you here. I don't know if you have anything more that you would like to pass across. You have done a great job for Tapang Ivo over the years, and in an extension to Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Is there any word you got for them? Those of them who have fallen victims to unscrupulous people like this.
Well, that's what I'm hired to do, and I'm happy to help people out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for being part of the show tonight. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Chris. My pleasure also.
All right, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, when I come back, I will bring you my monologue, second monologue on this subject of Nsahlai suing, Tapang Ivo suing Nsahlai. Please do not touch your remote. I will be right back.